majority of the time, if you work a solid interview process with someone, if you onboard them correctly and give them all the tools to succeed and give them clearly outlined roles and responsibilities of what to do every single day and what they should be striving for every day. Man, that's the biggest thing in terms of employee success. Like, I'm sure a lot of you guys have hired people that you're not happy with currently, or maybe you let go and they parted ways. Man, a lot of it is just the way you set them up for success. I know personally we've made that mistake almost an insane amount of times during 2023. And like, we are, every hire that we come on, we get a little bit better with our onboarding process, a little bit more clearly defined roles and responsibilities. And it makes an absolute difference because there's no questions for them. They know clearly what they have to do every day. They know, hey, if I don't have anything to do, these are the actions I should be taking, revenue driving activities. And they know clearly from a progress standpoint of a 30, 60, 90 days of what they should look like, what performance standards are on there, and then ongoing from there. I will tell you that a lot of, one thing that you have to do when you have and it's tough to do when you have a small team and limited resources, but like training every day. Salespeople get rusty literally over the weekend. And if you guys aren't training, you're not going to have an elite sales team. I think in our business, the main the main objective for us is to build a world-class sales organization. Wholesale companies are sales and marketing companies. And if you're really good at those two things, everything else is pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's like the easiest thing ever, but if you dominated sales and you dominated marketing, you're going to dominate in this space. And that's like our overall, goal is to be a world-class sales team. And we're definitely not there yet, but that's like, kind of our North Star of what we're looking for and how to, dominate this industry is to be a world-class sales organization. So I'll tell you, when bringing on new employees, whether it's an assistant, a salesperson, whether it's a, TC, whatever, you have to have the clear 30, 60, 90-day expectations. You have to have a very good onboarding process, because that's what sets them up for success. Otherwise, they're going to, be bombarding you with questions all the time. Otherwise, they're not going to be sure if they're performing correctly. And I'll tell you that, like, you're going to get way more out of your people when you have those clear set expectations. So if you're not doing that, you got to start working. It's not going to happen overnight. Like I said, we've made mistakes like as recently as a couple months ago, and but we're getting better every single hire we make. And I'll tell you, it's making a big difference in our employee success and getting them into performing status in a quicker manner than we have in the past. Anybody have any questions on that particular topic?
A little off topic from onboarding, but in the same way, kind of when you're growing fast and you've got some people that need to be replaced with better reps, how do you manage the expectations? They're going to see people coming on, and a lot of those reps, they're looking at how many leads are in the pipeline. They also know that they can't get away with as much when there's more reps. How do you kind of manage that with your sales team when you're bringing on you're kind of overstaffing the company, knowing that you're going to cut the bottom 20?
Yeah, so I think it's just having very clear expectations and clear accountability conversations with that person. I'm of the opinion you should never just fire someone out of the blue. They should know it's coming. They should have the opportunity to improve. They should have, a performance improvement plan in place. And if you don't, you're just not really being fair, right? Like, it should be very cut and dry. Hey, these are the performance standards. Either you meet them or you don't. And if you don't meet them, we're going to, have to move on. Right. And if you don't have those standards in place, because a standard is simply what you allow to happen, right? It's like it's like the most minimal accepted behavior, right? And if you don't have those standards in place, they're going to fall to whatever standard you have. You may not think you have standards in place, but there is a standard, and it's whatever you're allowing currently. And so you got to get very crystal clear with what you're willing to allow inside of your organization. Like for us, we are building out all of our standards within, because some of our directors didn't know our standards, didn't know that we expect everybody to close a deal when they can close a deal, whether it's midnight on a weekend or a holiday, it doesn't matter. Like, we expect our people to close deals, and we haven't communicated that to all of our executives on our team, and it's caused issues. And so getting crystal clear with your standards of what you will allow and what you don't allow, so everybody on the team knows. And then having those standards in place, and like, because if you have a standard in place, as soon as something doesn't happen that to that standard, you have to call that person out immediately. And I'm not saying publicly in front of everybody, but you have to have, like, the shorter that time is from the behavior to when you call it out, it needs to be extremely, extremely short if you want to start changing that behavior in the future. Now, if when somebody does something that meets the standard, say a standard is, hey, everybody shows up 5 minutes earlier, you're late. You should celebrate it. Everybody's there 5 minutes early. Hey guys, great job. I just want to thank you guys for showing up today 5 minutes early and meeting the standard, right? And then when it doesn't happen, like I said, calling it out immediately. If it's a whole group problem, call it out as a group. If it's just one person, make sure to have that conversation in private. I'm a big believer in praise in public and discipline in private. But if you don't have standards, you got to put some in place. Because that's ultimately what you're going to allow inside of your organization. That makes sense?
It does make a lot of sense. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one big thing that we're working on right now, is establishing these standards and then making sure that we stick to them. We're celebrating them when they're met, and when they're not met, immediately calling them out. And that's from our executive team to every single employee in the company. So I just recommend getting crystal clear of what you want, and then also maybe like what you can do is once you get those standards set in place, get the person who's like, maybe not, they don't have a leadership position in your, but maybe the leader in that particular department. We call them change champions. Whenever we're trying to make a systematic change in the organization, or a change that we need buy-in from everybody, the first people we're going to go to is the leaders in that department that are like the unspoken leaders, and ask them to help us implement those changes and celebrate those and lead by example, because those are the people that everybody are going to look to when stuff is going on, and you want to have their buy-in first.
Got it. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions on that?
I've got a question. John, we have a similar onboarding process to you, and what I've done with our latest hire is actually extended out by 2 weeks. So week one, rather than pushing for that very role specific training, what we're doing is actually letting them shadow each person in each division. So like first day is orientation, getting them set up, but then day two, they're shadowing the lead management division. Day three, acquisitions, transaction coordination, and dispo. So like the first 5 days is just shadowing and kind of for them to learn and get immersed into the organization and kind of meet everyone and see what everyone's doing. And then week two is more of the role specific. And then by like day 10, the end of week two is when we do that 100 call sprint. And we're using, because we're a smaller organization, we're actually using, I set up a Google Classroom. So a lot of the first people we onboarded, I had to spend like the entire day, every single day with them. And I can't do that because I'm wearing like 5 different hats. So what I did is I built out a Google Classroom, and I kind of like, today was actually their first day, and we had a 2-hour meetings in the beginning of the day, and then we set up the Google Classroom. So the rest of the day, they're going through that Google Classroom and just get like kind of onboarding themselves, if that makes sense. My question is, the 2-week thing, is that too far out? I'm afraid of people taking the 2 weeks and then they're really not a good fit, but it took us 2 weeks to figure that out.
So the thing that I don't like about that plan is you have the 100 call sprint 2 weeks after. I don't like that, because that's going to be a telltale sign whether they got the dog in them or not, right? Like that's what we call it. Do they have that dog in them or not? And them spending time with taking time from the other people in your organization, if they can't accomplish that 100 call sprint, I don't want them wasting the time of all the people in my organization. I do think it's a great idea for that person. Like every person in your company should sit with all the different seats to understand how the organization works as a team, because, a wholesale or flipping company, it's really like, very similar to manufacturing. You buy raw data, and the goal is to go through the assembly line and spit out cash. And so I think it's very important to know how each division works with each other, and that's a great part of the onboarding. We spend a lot of time like making sure they understand how each division works. But I will say that like that would be the tweak I would make, is the switch to see if they have that work ethic. Yeah.
So maybe week one, do the role specific and then
Yeah.
do that 100 call plan. And then week two is shadowing the rest of the team.
I like that. I think that's a great plan.
That makes sense. Okay.
And then just having clear direction of, hey, these are where to find your leads in the CRM. These are where opportunities are. These are where, the transactions are going to be. Making sure they know exactly from a performance standpoint where they need to sit at that first 30 days, from a 60 days and 90 days, and what activities change over the course of that period as well. Because I'll tell you, like, especially when you're hiring a new position, say you're a small team, maybe like, Rohan, and he's got, no transaction coordinator on staff yet, and he wants to hire that transaction coordinator. He needs to spend a lot of time building out what that looks like, what they're going to do on a day-to-day function. Because if you just look for that person and hire them, you're literally setting them up for failure. You're not going to be happy with the results you get because you didn't take the time, invest several hours into building that onboarding program and setting them up for success. Like, for instance, we're hiring a new SDR director. We're taking a very different, and it's basically the director of lead management. We're taking a very different approach to how we're bringing this person in the organization, not only from an interview perspective and how dialed we in are making sure we get the right person. We have 6 interviews set up for this week, but also like building out those roles and responsibilities so they have no question what they're supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Every day, every hour, they know exactly what they should be doing. So we're not sitting here pissed off wondering, hey, what's this person doing? Like, they're not doing the right things. Well, they have a clear document outline of what they're supposed to be doing every single day. Anybody else have any questions on the onboarding process, on anything of that nature? Cool. So I want to talk about something that has been, instrumental in my growth, my personal growth, and the company's growth, and that is, investing when you have good months, right? Like, what do you do when you have, you hit that first big month, maybe you net 200K or 150K or 300K or 500K, whatever it is, right? The biggest reason why, we've been able to grow so fast is because we don't take home all those profits and go do dumb shit with the money. I take it and I systematically use that money for 3 things. And the 3 things are more people, better quality people, more coaching like this, like you guys are on, and then also more marketing, right? So when you get like when you have the opportunity to get that big month, like that big month comes, you guys got a bunch of cash in the bank. What you do with that money can be so pivotal to your success. And I'll tell you a story about how this happened. Why me and Ren are together. I don't know if any of you guys know how me and Ren came to a partnership, but basically he was my coach before. Me and him were doing one-on-one coaching every single week. Me, Tyler, and him. And we saw on a Monday that his email had changed, like on our calendar invites, and we were like, uh-oh, what's going on? He's he's not using the company email anymore that he was at before. And so come to find out, like, our suspicion was expected. He left that previous company and he was going to go out on his own and do his thing, right? And the guy had, he'd basically done 1,000 deals a month for the past 6 months. Before he left that company. And, there's not many companies in our space doing 1,000 deals a month. And so we had recently closed a 600K wholesale deal. Like, we made 600K profit on the wholesale deal, like game changer type money. And what I could have done is, obviously gone and done some dumb shit with that money, paid myself a big amount, but I didn't. I decided to put that in our cash reserves, the majority of it. Some people got some handsome paychecks from the commissions on the deal. But when I found out Ren had left, I was like gung-ho I was like, we have to get this guy. He's talking about setting up his organization by himself. And I was like, if we get this guy, this is the rocket we need to fly. And I basically, he was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm doing my own thing or whatever. And I knew he was interested in Atlanta because the spreads were bigger here than he was dealing. I think his average profit per deal was about 12K at his last company because he was in lower price markets. But they were doing like 1,000 deals a month. Like it was wild. I'm sorry, not 1,000 deals a month, 100 deals a month. That's 10x what I was talking about. Sorry about that. But when I knew he was available and I knew the acumen he had because I'd been coaching with him, like I offered him a number to come work for us and talked about the partnership. And he's like, you guys just aren't ready yet. Like I want to do this myself. And he had already bought Salesforce licensing. He's already building everything out. And I continued to like not give up. I knew that this was like, if I get this is the game change hire for my company, everything will change. And so, I ended up offering him $100,000 signing bonus to come on. I offered him a big percentage of my company. I offered him a big ass salary as well. And finally he accepted it. And I think it was because of that 100K signing bonus. He was like, yeah, I'll take 100K right now. These guys are truly committed to me. And in saying that, when you guys have the opportunity to get great people that can make an impact in your organization that other people can't, you have to do whatever it takes. Like, and that's what I'm saying when you have those extra cash reserves from a great month, like go out and find that person who's going to make a difference. Go find that C-suite level employee that's going to be an executive type person in your business, because those people are going to command higher money. But I'll tell you, they make the biggest difference. You'll get 5x the result of an A player versus a B player, and they only cost 30% more. So like my challenge to you guys in saying this is like, don't be cheap with people. You hire cheap people, you're going to get cheap ass results. I used to want to find the $40,000 employee. Now I want to find the $150,000 employee because they're going to produce exponentially more. Like it's not even close. And I'll tell you, like when I look at my executive team, nobody's safe. Like I'm always looking to upgrade. Like that's just what it is. Like I look at it from a standpoint of being a sports GM. Do you think they, if they have the ability to upgrade, do you think they're going to sit there and worry about the person and not move on from it? No, they cut the guy and they add the addition. Like they're looking to make the best team possible, assemble the best team possible to grow. And you guys have to do that as well. So in saying this, like I said, when you guys get extra cash from big months, because I do believe that we're going to be set up for some tailwind market this year. I think a good market is coming. The interest rates have started dropping already exponentially. Like I think some good stuff's going to happen. You guys are going to have some of your bigger months coming up soon, especially if you guys are implementing what we're teaching here. And when you get those months, guys, you have to reinvest. And I would say the biggest thing is the people part. The next biggest thing is obviously you got to spend more on marketing to make more. And then the third thing is giving coaching for yourself, which you guys are already doing here. And that's great, but also give coaching to your people. Right. So like, for instance, I hired Tyler on, our COO, and now he's an owner in the company. I hired him on as an employee, and the person he is now to what he was then is just like he's on another planet. And it's not because I was so good at teaching him. It was honestly just because I supplied him with resources and coaching. And he has two badass coaches coaching him one-on-one right now, and that's the reason why he's so good. Yes, he had natural skills, he had the work ethic, he was smart, and he had an interest in real estate, and he was a financial wizard. But putting those pieces together and putting him with high-level coaches is what changed the game for him. So again, in saying all this is like, guys, some good months are ahead for you guys, especially the spring market. I just really challenge you guys to be looking for those people. And recruiting is not something that you can just, do when you need it. It's an all-time thing. Like for me, I'm personally putting out content around trying to recruit people to get interest in working for our company, content that people are excited about. And I also, I'm very focused on making relationships and looking for that next person, because I'm telling you, one hire, and for me, it was Tyler, and then it was Ren, can make the difference in you having the company you have now and you having a world-class organization, because those people multiply other people, and that's literally the difference. I've got some hands raised here. I'm going to go down the list. I think it was first Dolores was number one. Dolores.
Hey, Hey, sorry. Yeah, my phone's named Dolores. I'm Sean.
Yes, sorry.
I had a question
Yep.
about some of the coaching and training materials outside of what you guys provide on a weekly basis for acquisitions and dispo discussions. What are some other, whether it's evergreen content or real life coaching, can you suggest to offer our sales team to
Sales team. So,
outsource some of that?
Obviously I'd recommend them being on the sales calls here at WarTime, Mondays with acquisitions, Wednesdays with me in dispositions. But I will say that, you need resources for them. Like we have every sales training bought in the book. We got Jeremy Meyer, we got, who's the guy? John Martinez. We got Steve Trang. We got a bunch of other ones. Chris Voss.
Okay.
So just continuing to invest in those resources,
Yeah.
and then also, you could, like, for instance, if you go on our WarTime Drive, you can pull up all the former recordings and play those
Yeah.
every for your guys, but just make sure you're being interactive with it, right? If
Okay.
you just put on a video and let them go, they're not going to fucking pay attention. Like, it's just
Yeah, I
not
know.
like, they're not going to pay attention. You have to actually be asking questions. Hey, what did you hear there? How would you apply this today? That's one of the biggest things with sales training that I think I made the mistake in the beginning, is I would put on a video and just sit there and work and let them listen, and they didn't get anything out of it because I wasn't holding them accountable to get stuff out of it. I wasn't
Yeah.
asking questions. I wasn't making sure they were paying attention constantly. And so that I would just recommend having training every day. That should be the first thing you do every day before they go out and start making their calls. If you're not doing training every day, you're not going to get the most out of your people. They're going to be rusty. They're going to make mistakes.
Okay.
So just having those resources and utilizing them on a daily basis is what I would say.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. JP.
I honestly had a really, really similar question, and you answered my question as well. So it was mainly that, obviously we hop on these calls a lot, and then I work inside the organization with Omar and Jordan, and yeah, I just want to be the best acquisition leader that I can build into. But like I said, you answered those questions really well. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely. John.
When you're looking for that talent, are you looking for industry specific? Obviously with Ren, it's a gold mine, but not industry specific, just somebody that, crushed it in another space, you'll take them.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story about Tyler, and what I saw in him, because he had, he had bought a duplex as like a rental property, but he didn't know anything about real estate really. So the story with Tyler is I went to college with him. I knew he was a hard worker. Like, I just saw it all the time. He told me he moved to our area up here in Buford. He told me he finished his basement himself. And I was like, holy shit. Like, if I tried to finish my basement myself, there's no way I would get like 30 minutes in and be calling contractors, because I have no idea how to do any of that stuff. And I don't have the patience to figure it out. So that was like one like mind blowing thing about Tyler, that I was like, man, this guy is good at a lot of things I'm not at, because there's no way I could ever do that myself. And the fact that he had done so much work as a contractor before, like doing basements and working on things with his hands, like I knew he had the work ethic. I knew from a value standpoint, we aligned. He was a good person. And those were the main things I looked for. Is like, hey, this guy's offers a very different skill set than me. He's got a master's in finance. So he's a financial wizard. He loves Excel spreadsheets, which I don't even know how to operate. And so when I was looking at him, I was like, this guy's just like, he's good. Like, he's got a lot of skill that I don't possess. Let me go do all the sales and drive some revenue, and let him clean up and make all the systems and processes and make us, from a finance standpoint, excellent. And that's what he did. So I industry specific, maybe for like a sales role, maybe for acquisitions or dispositions, that's okay. I honestly don't love it though, because most of the people that we've hired with industry specific stuff come in with preconceived notions that, they know how to do things, and they know how to do things a certain way, and they have bad tendencies and bad habits. So I don't love industry people. I like people outside of the industry personally, because you can mold them into who you want to be and have the right, they have the overall understanding of a business from our perspective, not being a realtor or something else.
Cool. Got it. Thanks.
Yep. Rohan.
Hey, Clint. So with your departments, all the department heads kind of report to you, right? How do you know?
They report to the COO. It goes top CEO, COO, all the department leaders underneath.
So I guess the question would be for the CEO, but like, do you know what he uses to keep them all accountable? Like, is there a software? Because I'm just putting stuff all over the place, just trying to hold one or two guys accountable. But
Yeah.
like, what do you, yeah.
Yeah, so we use a software called Metronome. It's kind of expensive. I think it's like $300 a month. But basically, Tyler has every single meeting that he has in there and has an agenda of what to go over with. He has an issues list. He runs it basically like we run our L10 as an executive group, and he runs that like individually with each director. I hear him on the call right now. On Mondays, he has meetings with every single one of our directors going over the issues in the department, the performance, the metrics. He's doing that every single Monday and meeting with each department leader and making sure there's no issues. Because at the end of the day, like what I've realized about this business is all you do is you go around and fix bottlenecks in each division. You fix one bottleneck in acquisitions, the next one's going to be dispositions. You go fix that bottleneck, and then you figure out title's the problem, and then it's marketing, and that COO just needs to be able to identify those bottlenecks and go to each department and fix them, right? And that's what he does all the time.
No, I appreciate that. Would you recommend anything else for someone smaller like me? So any of the
Yeah, so I
software,
think Asana is a good place to have host meetings.
Asana.
Yeah, Asana's cheap, great place to host meetings. It doesn't like the only thing I don't like about Asana is that it doesn't have built out metrics, and you can use like, so for instance, you're going to have Asana, and then you're also going to have an Excel spreadsheet with them inputting their metrics each week. The reason we use Metronome is because the metrics live inside of the meetings, and it's easier to track. It does all the conversion ratios for you, so we just like it. But Excel and Asana can do the exact same thing.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
Yep. 100%. Rashard.
Hey, Clint, I want to ask, I don't want to divert this meeting, and I think it's pretty relevant to what we're talking about to an extent, but what we're facing specifically, Preston and I, he's on this call, he's my sales leader, is acquisitions, right? We're having trouble, hiring, firing, auditing, and really just finding quality talent. So you've answered this question for me a couple of times in the past, but I want to ask you guys specifically, like, what does Ren handles acquisitions? Is that right for you?
Correct.
So, like, what does the team specific day-to-day look like on the acquisition side, abbreviated, of course? And like, what does his specific day-to-day look like? How is he holding them accountable? How often is he reaching out? Like, because that's where we're failing right now. Our systems and processes perfect on the other end? No, that they can use some refinement, but we all know the heart and bloodline of the business is the acquisition side. So,
yeah, great question. So yeah, I agree 100%. The heart and soul of a wholesale or flipping business is acquisitions. Everything else falls in place after. It's like our number one. Like, if you can have a division of importance, it's acquisitions, and if you can dominate that, everything else gets pretty easier. I'll tell you, he's in the process of revamping his whole sales management, everything across the board. So I don't want to jump ahead of the horse here and tell you exactly what he's doing. But I will say he's got one-on-one meetings with each rep every single week. He's making sure they are all accountable, reporting their numbers every single day. He's going through opportunities and making sure they're, hitting their follow-up dates and don't have any past dues. He's just making sure, from a standpoint, we're making sure to maximize every opportunity we have. Like, he's scouring the system for opportunities that aren't being worked correctly or not being done correctly, whatever the system may be. But he's just very focused on identifying holes within the system and making sure all the reps are taking the right actions and making sure to hold them accountable to their metrics and calling them out every single day when the standard's not met. Like, for instance, if someone doesn't hit their KPIs for the day, they're going to get a call from Ren, and they know it immediately at 6 o'clock on the day when they report their KPIs. They're going to get a call from him if they don't hit their KPIs that day. Hey, what's going on? And have an accountability conversation. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I see, people making the mistake of, and something I used to do as well, is just low accountability across the board. If somebody's not having those conversations, your standard's just going to be too low. And you're not going to get the most out of your people. And you can't look at it from a standpoint of, hey, they're not doing this for the company. The conversation needs to be, hey, are you not interested in making the money you told me you wanted to make at the beginning, and making it about them, right? Like, when you make it about yourself, you're just going to make them mad. But when you make it about them, their family, or whatever goals they told you, and, we've talked about that conversation, the deeper why conversation we have with employees in the beginning. But it's just having those conversations around accountability and making sure they're driving to results. Because if you're not accountable, you're not going to have a high performance sales team. Like there's just no way.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And I would ask Ren maybe next time, what changes are you making? Because I know that he's trying to automate a lot of the stuff through dashboards and reporting to be able to say eliminate all of this pipeline pickups for the week and say, hey, you have 5 people past you. You're going to be pulled off opportunities if you don't get those 5 up by the end of the week. Or that's the goal, is to eliminate a lot of the meetings and just be able to have accountability through the CRM.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But from a day-to-day perspective, they should be either, if they're in person, going on appointments every day, and hitting a certain amount of follow-up. But it's just like, whatever they have in their pipeline, make sure it's being worked correctly. I would say that's the main thing from a day-to-day standpoint is, hey, when a new opportunity comes in, how does it work? How are you working your existing opportunities in place as well? Because like one of the big focuses for us right now is our acquisition managers spend way too much time in follow-up. And we want, if the deal's not being able to be closed in the next 2 weeks, we want to be putting that back on a lead manager type person to be going back to, because we only want them closing. We want them dealing with the hottest stuff in the system. We don't want them wasting their time doing bullshit follow-up that they're going to follow up with for 8-9 months. Like that's not what is good spent time for them.
Fair. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. John.
When they are overdue, what is he doing? Is he passing it up, just like saying, hey, this is an overdue lead, anybody can grab it? Or is he kind of babysitting?
Yeah, so it'll go into an attack list automatically through our CRM. It'll go into an attack list. Anybody can attack it if the past dues date after a certain point. But he's pretty tightly, he has a tight watch on who's past due and who's not, and making sure he's following up with that rep to get them up to speed. And if they don't, hey, you're going to be taking off opportunities this week until you get it all caught up. So there has to be some sort of like, repercussion if they continue to do it.
Okay. And that's taking leads away. Take them off opportunities.
Taking the new opportunities away. Hey, you can only work what's in your pipeline currently.
Got it. Cool.
Yep. Who else has questions on that?
So you're just pulling them off of incoming opportunities if they're not hitting some of their certain metrics, then forcing them to go back into the pipeline and do some digging. And what if they don't spend X number of offers per week or make their calls or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not in performance, like why would I be giving them the best stuff, right? Why would I be giving them all the new opportunities that, other people are working super hard to stay, up to date on their pipeline? Like they deserve it. They're the ones who are putting in the work. So there has to be some of that. Like it seems like every week we have somebody who's off opportunities for the week because they're, we're behind the previous week or whatever the case may be. So I think you have to have some sort of repercussions to not performing and not, doing what you're supposed to be doing. But you also have to reward the people that are, right? And that is getting more opportunities when they are doing it in place. So there has to be a balance of both. You don't want to be all stick. You got to have some carrot too.
Yeah. Okay.
On that note of the new opportunities, do your home buy specialists, are they the first ones that get new opportunities? Does it depend on the lead source? We initially had the lead managers being the first point of contact, but we're kind of switching it to the home buy specialist.
Yeah, so from a perspective of opportunities and leads, we're working on creating values for them all, right? For instance, a direct mail lead for us is worth like $350 versus a cold calling lead is worth like $10 or whatever the case may be. Those are probably inaccurate numbers, but you get the point. And so why would I have one of my new HBSs working those direct mail leads when we have cold call leads available that, they should be working in like a lower value lead, right? And the same thing with your lead managers too. It's like, hey, the direct mail stuff, it's going through my top reps, my top lead managers. It's not going through the new lead managers or the people that aren't performing. Like we're sending the best stuff through the best people to drive results, right? So I think it's good to like get an understanding of what like the value is and also who your top performers are. So you feed them the best opportunities. I think the same thing goes with Dispo, right? Like I will intentionally get our top Dispo reps the best deals because I know they're going to sell it. They're going to get it sold quick and we're going to close this month and there's going to be no hiccups. So it'll get to close. Right. So it's just rewarding your best people with the best stuff. I think you have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on value by giving the high value stuff to your lowest value employees. And Tyler's currently working on that, like building that out. I'm sure he'll have a presentation for you guys on that. On like, we're also going to have the value of each employee, like who is the top performers and what is their value to the company, and what are those lead sources and how are they being allocated those lead sources appropriately. It's a big thing he's working on right now, is creating the value around everything. Who else has questions on that? We got a few more minutes, but yeah, to kind of recap what I was talking about, it's like, you know, the two topics we covered today is really setting your people up for success, especially when you're hiring a new position, truly building out those roles and responsibilities. Hey, 20% of your time is built here, 40% of your time is here, 20% is here, and the other 20% is here. And clearly articulate what those are, where to, you know, what resources do they need to be successful. You know, something that we do is when we have a new employee start, like we're going to meet them out of their car with coffee, their favorite coffee that day. We're going to have their favorite quote on their desk. We're going to have their favorite candy bar on their desk. And that first experience, that first day that they have, is like going to be ultimately their impression of the company they're working for and the leaders they're working for. And so we try to make that first week, especially, an amazing experience for them that they haven't had before. And most of our people tell us that, you know, I've never had this before at a company I work. This is awesome. And doing that, they're going to have, you know, a view of your company as, you know, a very professional organization, and they're going to act as a professional as well. So that's just super important to have success with your people, because the majority of the time when your people aren't having success, it's normally your fault. And you guys have to take that into account because, I mean, we've just made so many mistakes across the board with employees of performance, and it's been our fault for not setting them up for success. And then the second thing that we talked about is really, you know, when you guys have that extra cash, you have those good months, reinvesting it into really good people. Like, I don't know how many, like, I know pretty intimately most people's organizations here. Not everybody, I can't speak to that, but most of you people on this call don't have C-suite level employees, like, or executives on your team. You just don't. Like, if you guys interviewed our exec team and matched it to your core employees, and you're like, these guys are just way better. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to enlighten you guys on what's out there and to what, you know, what you need to be a great organization. It's like, you really truly need great people. So like, I can't recommend more. Wherever you guys are struggling, is go out. If you got the extra cash to do so, go out and spend it on that really high level person that costs $150K a year. As bad as that sounds, and as tough as a pill that is swallowed or stroke that check, that person can make the biggest impact on your business. It's not just one sales guy or one, you know, one person that, you know, goes into Dispo or TC, whatever that is. Those executive type level are the game changers. Like, we have an absolute game changer in our title division, our director of title, game changer in our director of dispositions. Ren's running our acquisitions. Like, and there's room for improvement on our executive team, and that's something I'm looking to upgrade at all times. And you guys have to approach it the same way.